Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're taking a look at the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse. Jennifer Kesse vanished January 23rd, 2006. We are just over the 14-year anniversary mark of the disappearance of Jennifer. A lot of people have given a lot of tips over the years of what may have happened to Jennifer, but all of those tips that have been called in have run dry. The police have investigated them all, looked at each and every one of them twice, 3 times, followed up on everything, and yet nothing has really panned out. Jennifer Joyce Kesse, born in Orlando, Florida, has been missing since January 23rd, 2006. Shortly after she vanished, her car was discovered about a mile from her home. A local security camera recorded a person who could not be identified parking Kesse's car and walking away. The case received lots of national and local press attention. Kesse was last seen for the last time leaving work at approximately 6 p.m. January 23rd, 2006. She spoke by phone with her father while driving home at around 6:15 p.m. and then with her boyfriend around 10 p.m. just before heading to bed. She was in the habit of texting or telephoning her boyfriend before leaving work, so it is unusual when she did neither the following morning. His calls went to her voicemail. When Kesse failed to arrive at work, her employer contacted her parents, who began a 2-hour drive from their home to hers. Her parents noticed that her car was missing but saw nothing out of the ordinary in her home. A wet towel and clothes laid out, amongst other things, suggested that she had just showered, dressed, and prepared for work that morning. Friends and family distributed flyers about Kesse that evening, and the Orlando Police Department organized search parties on foot and on horseback, and as well as by jet boat, helicopters, cars, and ATVs. What is known at this point, starting with January 23rd. Again, at 6 p.m., Kesse leaves work and calls her parents the last time her family hears from her. She arrives home for the first time since leaving on a previous vacation. 10 p.m., Kesse, on the same day, calls her boyfriend and talks to him by phone and says her goodnights. He was the last person to speak with her before her disappearance. The following day, Tuesday, January 24th, 2006, 7:30 a.m. to approximately 8 a.m., investigators initially believed that Kesse was abducted as she was walking from her front door to her car. They now believe that she left and was abducted at some point on her way to work, not in her apartment complex parking lot. 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., Kesse's boyfriend, who normally would have heard from her, calls her on the way to work, but it goes directly to voicemail. He chalks it up to a meeting she had mentioned to him. He subsequently attempts to, likewise unsuccessfully, to reach Kesse's parents and calls him to say that she had failed to show up for work. 11 a.m. Alarmed at Kesse's uncharacteristic no call, no show, her employer contacts her parents, who begin the drive from Tampa to Orlando. On the way, they call and ask the manager of her condominium to check on her home with a spare key. He reports everything appears normal inside and that her car is missing from the parking lot. 12 p.m., only 1.2 miles from Kesse's home, surveillance cameras at an apartment complex record a person in the act of parking her car and walking away. The car and footage are not discovered until 2 days later. 3 p.m. to approximately 3:15, maybe 3:20 p.m., Kesse's parents and brother arrive at her apartment. They find evidence that she had been home that morning. They called the police and asked. 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., family and friends saturate the area with flyers that show Kesse's picture. The police send a detective to her home and begin interrogations and searches. Thursday, January 26, 2006, at approximately 8 a.m., seeing Kesse's car on the news, a tenant of a nearby complex informs the police that it has sat abandoned in front of their apartment for several days. Police confirm it is Kesse's 2004 black Chevy Malibu. The vehicle is photographed and taken for forensic examination. Police examine local surveillance footage and discover an unidentified person parking her car and walking away. Thursday, January 26th, same day, approximately 5 p.m., the police department releases a statement stating that the person who left the car in the parking lot was between 5'3" and 5'5", much shorter than Kesse's fiance, boyfriend, or her brother, or any other known males with connections to the family. Her boyfriend is 6'1". With no signs of forced entry or a struggle, investigators initially theorized that the morning of January 24th, Kesse left her apartment for work and locked her front door, only to be abducted at some point while walking towards and getting into her car. On January 26th, at approximately 8 o'clock in the morning, her black 2004 Chevy Malibu was found parked at another complex, about a mile from her home. Investigators were excited to learn that several hidden cameras at the apartment complex had footage of the car being parked and the person exiting the car. The surveillance footage showed an unidentified person of interest dropping Kesse's vehicle off at approximately noon. That day, she went missing. None of her family or friends recognized the person, whose physical features were not clear on the video. Investigators were disheartened to find the best video captured in from three separate snapshots of the person were obscured by the complex's fencing post, aligned to conceal the face of the person as they walked by in a quick manner. This person is one of the luckiest persons of interest ever, said local detectives. The FBI was called in to help determine the person's size and gender, but could only say that the person stood between 5'3" and 5', confirming what the local police department had released on a previous announcement. NASA has also enhanced the video to help identify the suspect. Detectives interpreted the valuables left inside the car and implied that the robbery was not a motive. In this case, a search dog tracked the scent that led from her parked car back to her apartment complex, but vanished about 3 doors away from where she entered. Both of those apartments from each direction were empty. No one lived in those apartments. The following items are known to be missing from Kesse's car and from her apartment: her cell phone, her iPod, her purse, her briefcase, and the outfit she was wearing that day. Authorities were unable to ping her cell phone, and the power has remained off for the past 14 years. Her bank account cards have never been used and have also disappeared. As the customary investigation first questioned Kesse's immediate family and close friends and fiancé to see if any of them could have had a motive to abduct her. Her boyfriend, recently upset and wishing to get back together with her, was also interrogated, but it was concluded that he had nothing to do with the abduction and had an airtight alibi, as more than 50 people had been with him the morning and the day after her actual disappearance. Her current boyfriend was also questioned, and his alibi checked out as well, as the suspect who was seen parking her car was much too short to be his size. Again, he is 6'1". At the time of her disappearance, Kesse's fiance was more than 230 miles away and had just landed at the airport maybe an hour beforehand, not allowing enough time for him to go from the airport, get in a car, and get to her apartment. Kesse had told friends and family on several occasions that a construction workers constantly catcalled her and whistled at her and harassed her. Due to the language barrier, investigators were unable to interrogate many of them. No other leads regarding her disappearance were ever really found to be in concrete. Detectives also then turned their focus to her place of employment and began questioning her coworkers. Her computer was taken for a forensic examination, and it was learned that a manager where she had worked had desired a relationship with her, but she had refused his advancements because she saw it as against workplace rules. Detectives interviewed him on multiple times, but ultimately ruled him out as a suspect. Investigators and Kesse's friends and family remained open to the theory that she fell victim to human trafficking, but considered it less likely than others. In May of 2007, Kesse's company, led by David A. Siegel, offered a $1 million reward for information leading to the whereabouts, with a July 4th deadline, and the stipulation that she was to be found alive. It was never claimed. A $5,000 reward for information leading to the whereabouts of her remains was also available through Central Florida's crime line. The case received state and national press attention at that time of her disappearance, and subsequently from her father's constant nagging and being a sore thumbtack in the side of police, detectives, and local media. In 2008, the Florida House of Representatives unanimously passed Senate Bill 502, the Jennifer Kesse Tiffany Sessions Missing Persons Act, to reform how missing persons cases are handled in the state of Florida. As of June 10, 2010, the FBI has taken the case over from the Orlando Police Department. It did so at the urging of the police chief, Van Demplings. Kesse remains on the FBI's most wanted missing list. The latest search for her took place on February of 2014, and investigators continue to receive and pursue leads, but nothing to date has panned out.
At 5, a new lead in the search for Jennifer Kesse. The 24-year-old vanished in Orlando back in 2006. Her family has fought to keep this search alive. Now, only on 6, we've learned Orange County detectives are wrapping up a search. Glad you're with us tonight. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Lisa Bell. Dive crews have been in the water for the past 2 days. News 6's Clay Lepard joins us live in Gotha, where this search is wrapping up. So, Clay, what led detectives out there?
Lisa, we've learned from the Orange County Sheriff's Office that it was a tip from the Kesse family investigator that led them here and led them behind these homes to search a concentrated area on Lake Fisher. For the past 2 days, dive crews have been out on the water here in Gotha, searching for any clues that could help them in Jennifer Kesse's disappearance. News 6 was there Thursday as crews with the Sheriff's Office began their search, clearing out weeds as the Kesse family watched on.
Obviously, it was a good enough tip that you see the actions of how many divers and what have you. I think we had 8 divers at one time.
The 24-year-old went missing back in January of 2006 when she never showed up for work.
You guys are doing the Walmart.
As the search intensified, her car was found at a condo complex about a mile away from where she lived.
The signs on the side of the road?
Since then, her family and friends have not given up the search.
She is our child. Ultimately, I'm responsible for finding my child. Love. Period.
Even today, 13 years later, posters for Jennifer Kesse are scattered all over Central Florida. We've learned investigators with the Kesse family learned a new tip that led them and Orange County investigators to this quiet lake.
We're going in many different directions, and we're going to cultivate those leads, and if they cultivate into something truly formative, we're going to act on them like we did today.
Aerial images give us a better idea of what this neighborhood looked like in 2006 when Kesse went missing. The land had been cleared for development, but houses didn't go in until several years later.
We asked the public, please stick with us. Please believe in us. Believe in Jennifer. And if you know something, and if you've called something in before that you think has not been worked, give us a call.
We've put that family tip line on our website, clickorlando.com, just to give you some perspective. This search area is about 12 miles away from where Jennifer Kesse lived. It appears that dive crews are starting to wrap up for the day. It's not clear at this point what, if anything, they found connected to this case. In Gotha, Clay Lepard, Getting Results, News 6.